Joseph, great to have you back on the program. How do you think it's going to go? How is it going to go between, I mean, we can only speculate on early voting for the moment. Between now and November the 1st, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it's going to be a continued high turnout. As far as my personal prediction, I can't do that because this is indeed Florida. Polls have shown to some degree a lead for Vice President Biden, but polls are highly unreliable. And I would submit to you that a lot of times the polls drive the conversation, the polls drive the ratings for the media, and the polls drive the income for the pollers themselves. Ultimately, the poll that's going to count is going to be the one at the end of November 3rd, and that is going to be subject to Article 2, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, and that has to do with the Electoral College. And everybody has to remember that.
Sure, absolutely. Now, what is there, if any, connection between the governor of a state and the man in the White House? So we've got Ron DeSantis, who is a Republican governor in Florida. Some people, obviously, it's divided opinion all over the world. Some people believe he's mishandled the coronavirus pandemic in your state. Other people believe he's been doing the right thing. But the fact that he's a Republican, will that have any bearing on the fact that people, if they're voting for Trump, are voting for a Republican candidate?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is he was duly elected, that is Governor DeSantis. He was duly elected by the people of this great state, Florida. And the fact of the matter is he is a Republican. And the fact of the matter is the president, Donald J. Trump, is also a Republican. And Donald Trump has moved here and made Florida his home and probably part of Mar-a-Lago. His Mar-a-Lago estate is subject to the Florida homestead exemption. Now, whether or not that's going to influence people, it most certainly will influence Republicans to get out and vote. And it most certainly will influence those Democrat voters and others who may dislike Governor DeSantis and dislike Donald Trump. But this is an exciting time for not only the state, but the United States of America. Because, again, at the end of the day, it distinguishes our constitutional republic from the rest of the world, in particular when it is an election year. Because, again, the president is elected not by popular vote. The president in the United States election for president is elected by Article 2, Section 1, and that is the Electoral College, and that is the fundamental bottom line. Nowhere in the Constitution, and in particular in Article 2, Section 1, does it speak to electing a president via the popular vote. That's not how it works.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, well, let's look at the demography of Florida. About 16% of Floridians are African Americans, a higher percentage are Hispanic. And then, and I haven't seen the official figure, but I certainly know that a lot of older people go to Florida to retire because your weather is so lovely. So for the older people, COVID-19 might be a factor. For Hispanics and African Americans, it may simply be a case of race and identity and the way the president doesn't seem, they believe in the majority, I understand, they don't believe those two sections of society that the president has their best interests at heart. So what about the demography of Florida and who people might eventually vote for based on pure demography, race, and age?
Well, I would say to you, you know, you in the media, and I'm part of the media because I participate and have been a broadcaster since 1979. But at the end of the day, you cannot prejudice, or you cannot shall I say, pigeonhole any race or any creed or any color based upon race, creed, or color, thinking that they will vote a certain way. You don't know how people are going to vote when they get into the voting booth. Now, your research, and these polls might indicate a particular race, color, creed, religion tends to vote a certain way. You may or may not be correct. But at the end of the day, and I hope I don't sound like a broken record because that is not what I'm trying to do, the decision ultimately will be made on November 4th, strike that, November 3rd, at the end of the day, and it's going to be subject to Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, and that is the Electoral College. And we just don't know.
Joseph Haynes Davis, always a pleasure to have you on TRT World. Thank you so much indeed.